So Tennessee is an example of a community. Chattanooga is only 300,000 people. And they built a $48 million aquarium because they had this vision for themselves that we can bring people here if we're strong enough, if we're bold enough. And when we started the design process, the interesting thing was that they said, we would like you to bring the ocean to Tennessee. Give us some wonderful, exciting sharks and colorful fishes, reefs and things. And I came back with a presentation about 6 weeks later saying we had a different recommendation for them. Could we, what happened? Oh, sorry. They said, could we hear from you what you have in mind? And I told them that we proposed that it be a freshwater aquarium. The response was aghast. People saying, what? Trout, bass, boring gray fish? You know? How can you possibly propose such a thing? And what I was able to tell them was that it wouldn't be boring at all. It would be one of the most exciting aquariums in the world, in our view. Because we could replicate nature. We had learned a few things by doing other aquariums, and we had found ways to make a natural setting that could be ecologically sound, and we could do it with a lot of expert help. And then, suddenly, that bass would be in a miraculous, magical place. And even though it was an ordinary bass, you would be amazed, delighted, even moved by it. So we made things like a pool at the bottom of the waterfall. And in that pool, 10 feet deep, we not only have bass and trout, we have all kinds of other fishes. The bubbling water, the drama of it is very compelling. People come away talking about it. We made a little trout stream where some brook trout are feeding quite naturally by going out of an eddy into the flow, back into the shelter of a rock, and then out into the eddy to feed and so on. The natural behavior is there. Why did we do that? How did we do that? We were advised that this would work by some fishermen. Our most substantial advisors were not the ecologists from the universities. It was the fishermen. Although the ecologists, by the way, were also terrific. I would say the fishermen were even more so. Giving us ideas for, the overhanging branch on which the bass would lie or the catfish would go, to enrich the story and the habitat and the exhibition experience. And so I think actually we made one of our very best aquariums by doing it that way. And the board, the skeptics among them, took hold of it, got excited about it, and then adopted it as if they had asked for that in the beginning. And I'm delighted that they disclaimed the ownership of it, because it means that they've really embraced it in all ways. And their educational programs do the same thing. It's all about a love affair with the Tennessee River. And later, now, 20 years later, we did an expansion, which is a second building, all about the ocean. Because we took the river then out into the Gulf of Mexico. And that meant that we could celebrate the ocean while still telling the river story. I tell you this with the thought that Gloucester is a magical place in itself, but it also connects to the world through the ocean. And there are references there to be built upon. Ian Kerr is here with his colleagues, Roger Payne and others. I don't know where your building is, Ian.
Right there.
Is that it?
That's it. That's
that
what I was just
wonderful
looking
red
at.
building?
Yep.
That's right, yeah.
That's it.
Fabulous.
With the scaffolding on.
Fabulous.
It's a good
Well,
sign.
very good sign. That is what that speaks to is not only the rich heritage of Gloucester and the ocean community that's here, and the existence of science, it's also the existence of a long tradition to be built upon. And that building now, that group, I know them from years ago, we worked together in New Bedford, is all about global outreach from a base. And local outreach from this base could be quite a story. So I find myself thinking something very rich could happen here, something very special could happen here. In this case, for example, this is just a couple of images of our habitats in the Tennessee saltwater building. It's called Ocean Journey. The first building is called now River Journey. And in the Ocean Journey, we take people out into the Gulf of Mexico to a very specific reef, and it's very carefully replicated. And we do things like build a grotto, which surrounds you as you go underneath this reef exhibit. Pass through it, under it, and look out not just through the conventional window, but through windows in the grotto that are up above you. So that little kid pointing there is immersed. He's in a different kind of setting than the usual aquarium setting. And that was done without being all that big. This building, this second building, is not that big, but it's strong. It's conceptually strong. It has its connection to its landscape, its place. And I think as a result, is a very valid contribution. So what I'm urging consideration of here is something that would grow out of your wonderful heritage, would take advantage of the assets and riches that are here, people above all, but also of the history and of the ecosystem, and also the Grand Banks and all the other things that this community has been a leading, you might say, harvester of, an explorer of. So there's a huge story to be told that's very locally based, very strongly identified with Gloucester. So what I'm thinking here is what could happen on this site is, and here just to show the parcel from this is the lower level, that parking level that Paul showed. It's a small place, but it can do many things that tie it deeply to the community and then also take advantage of what's next door. In Chattanooga, what's next door is critical. If the aquarium was standing alone, it would have failed. It's in a community, in a place that makes it thrive. I want to find an image here to show you that, here, that makes that point. These two little images you can't expect to see very well. They're too small. But I'd like to begin by just pointing to the fact that in Baltimore, after the aquarium was built, many things happened in the town, not just to the harbor, but back into the town, just as Paul has made me very aware could happen here. That this waterfront could be a celebration that is remaining a working waterfront, that doesn't lose its character and become just a tourist place. Sure, of course it involves lots of people coming there, but the spin-off, the impact, can be huge in terms of land values and activity and growth, which is exactly what's happened in the hundreds of millions of dollars in Baltimore. You see the inner harbor here. And similarly on the lower pair of these little photographs in Chattanooga. Chattanooga's waterfront was a forgotten place. It was where the city was born. They call it Ross's Landing. Everything started in Chattanooga on the waterfront. But in the last 50 years, it was forgotten. Combustion engineering died. Everybody thought the town had died. Until a group of people got together with a vision and said, damn it, we can turn this around. And they did it by building upon their waterfront, making a park, a public place, building new buildings, other attractions. There's a children's museum, there's an IMAX theater, all back away from the water, by the way. And they made the water accessible and a joy to everybody there. Rich and poor, everybody goes. Suddenly the waterfront in Chattanooga is where it's at. And that little town of 300,000 people has drawn 1 million people per year, almost every year since it opened in 1992.
Peter,
That's a huge thing, and I'd just like to end with that saying, by the way, last little thing. I find myself wondering if we were to get involved in a study, in a search for something that fits you, fits Gloucester, comes out of Gloucester. One thought I would have is to build upon the fishermen as much as the scientists. Just like I said about Chattanooga, it was the fishermen who were even more important to us as designers than the scientists. Here you've got both, and it can build upon both. And this institution could be very exciting, very emotionally powerful, but it could also really invite the fishermen to be a part of it in ways that I don't presume to even know. I just like the idea of the search for it. Not just the lobster tanks, that might be on the dock, or the freezer that might be on the dock where the fishermen could come in and tie up and do this or do that. I don't even know yet what it might mean, except to say to you that I think there's something wonderfully rich and exciting to be found by doing an aquarium which is supportive of and derived from the tradition of fishing in this community as much as the science.
thank you, Peter.
Thank you.